Sorry, just you jump in then, and I'll cut from wherever you start.
Oh, that sounds like a good intro to me.
Oh God, no!
I've always felt that we should have some kind of intro or little like 10-second not random clip at the start.
Yeah, we should sing it.
Oh God!
You don't
See
sound too pleased with that.
now I have to start writing a song.
You have to like, and it'll all be done on accordion.
Accordion, okay.
Accordion. Do you own an accordion?
No, but I seem to run into at least a few people on the train each week who just seem to be playing it.
Fair enough.
And apparently they work for money because they shake it around a lot in a cup. So we'll go with that.
Maybe it's filled with buttons and it's all like an illusion sort of thing.
I never thought of that.
See,
I never look. I just look out the window and blank them.
Yeah, you hate the homeless. You heard it here first.
No, I just hate jackasses who play very bad 90s pop hits.
Fair enough.
On something that should never play 90s pop hits.
Yeah, fair enough.
So yeah. It's the I keep wanting to call this the Christmas special, but it's you know.
I mean, it's definitely special. The fact that we actually managed to press record on something in 2014 is pretty remarkable, I would say.
We left it late, but we just got in there at the end of 2014. So that's cool.
Pretty much. And I mean, it leaves it obviously like we have a lot to talk about, a year's worth of things. You know, so at least it's not going to be boring. I hope.
I get to. Actually, I'm trying to think what happened over the past year because it started off fairly quiet. There were just some games released. Was it this time last year the consoles were out, so they were trying to decide who was the winner. I think by now Microsoft had already dropped the Kinect and all that stuff, and then it just started to digress into bad news. I mean. Well, I say bad news, controversial news, shall we say? Because there was what comes straight into mind is freaking Gamergate.
Yeah, God.
That all got blew out of proportions.
Yeah, that things with that escalated really quickly, and I mean every time I do see anyone mentioning Gamergate and things like that, like there's actually an online video game retailer, like a digital game retailer called Gamersgate. And I'm guessing they made so much money during that, like by people finding their website accidentally.
I know they got tweeted accidentally.
Really? Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, it's so easy to add an S on there, like so easy.
But yeah, and there's after that it became just more of the social justice warrior movement, and now white knighting, and now everyone's calling everybody something. Everyone has to have a category. Everyone has to have a label. You have to be on one side or the other. You can't just be there. It's like, well, what happened to games?
Yeah, I mean, I think it takes far too much effort to get involved in that, so I just kind of sit there and be quiet and play my Titanfall, you know? That's pretty much it.
I mean, the most recent thing I can think of is I was watching the BlizzCon stream, and there was Mike Morhaime in his opening statement. You know, there's the normal company rhetoric of like, hey, this is all nice. But he made a mention of like, yeah, this issue a little bit about the games and having fun in the community, and, you know, no one yelling at people and everyone treating each other, you know, nicely.
Yeah.
So that was quite nice. At the interview afterwards on the desk, Jeff Keighley, the complete plank that he is, said, "Oh, and good opening speech, and mentioning Gamergate there," and like, he didn't mention Gamergate.
Oh God!
Now you did, and then the Twitterverse caught on, and everyone was suddenly going, "Oh my God, Blizzard are making a stance on Gamergate. This is unfair." I'm like, no, he didn't. Jeff Keighley did,
oh Lord,
and he made a bad one as well. He just said, "Look, can everyone just chill and be nice?" And then suddenly everyone's like, "Oh, no be chilling, no be nice."
Oh God.
I'm like, I thought this was over months ago, but apparently it's not.
No, nothing but escalation with that whole thing. It's just literally I just started ignoring it after a certain point in time. Tell me this, though. I'm sure that there may actually be a person or two that's actually interested in knowing the answer to this, because I genuinely don't, and I wonder if maybe you do. Do you know how occasionally on the Humble Bundle or on other, again, gamer retailing websites that others are available, they have, like, Android game sales?
Yeah, I've seen a few of those, yeah.
Yeah, how on earth do you get those from whenever you buy them on your computer to actually work on your mobile phone? Because I got an Android phone about a week and a half ago, and I have 0 games on it at the moment, and would definitely like some.
Well, I am I don't know what the proper term is, but I am without phone at the moment. I have one, a very old iPhone 3GS. Yes, that old.
It's not so
Um,
bad. I mean, I had a 4S until a fortnight ago.
But say the contract I cancelled in the summer because it was costing me each month, and I wasn't using it for anything.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, I'm just going to cancel it and save money. So people said, "Oh, you should upgrade to this and this." I'm like, that's just more money I'm not going to use. So I've
Yeah.
not paid attention to the phones itself. I don't know how you actually.
I might like while we're recording this, try and purchase one just to see how it works. Um, let's see if there's actually any instructions.
I was looking right now to see if there was anything, and
There
it
is
might be.
there is. I've just found it. There's literally an article saying Android how it works. So you prepare your device apparently by going to settings, security on your Android device, and enable unknown sources. That sounds like safe, doesn't it? Um, uh,
Well, I know that Humble Bundle have an app for the Android, and I didn't know if that would maybe act as a go-between.
that would be quite useful. I'm guessing they probably do, like the same way, when you make a purchase now, it automatically links the Steam keys to your account unless you select it as a gift. So I guess it would make sense if it worked that way.
I suppose one benefit is if you don't know how to play a mobile game, is just wait a few months and someone will badly port it to Steam, and you can then buy it cheap there.
Yeah,
So,
but again, badly port being the main part of that. I found with
well,
King-
it's a redundant term. If it's a port, yeah, it's be bad. We don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, no, of course. I mean, what I found about that was with Kingdom Rush. Like I played Kingdom Rush on iOS a lot. Like I beat the game and the second one and got like halfway through the third one before swapping to my new phone, and I haven't repurchased the game yet. But all I've heard apparently is that the PC port of it is atrociously broken. Even though it has massively overwhelming reviews on Steam, but from what I've heard of, obviously from people who've played the original, is that that the PC version is just atrociously ported. So it's kind of heartbreaking because I really like me some tower defense, as I think we established in the podcast a year ago.
Oh yeah,
Tower
I mean,
defense be where it's at.
you'd almost got me tempted to do it, but then I realised no, I still hate them.
Oh God, I tried.
What was it? Double Fine had their version of tower defense that they put out, which was, I guess it's kind of a bit like Sanctum, which is the first person shooter tower defense
what
where
was
you
that
lay things
called?
out. Well, on
The Double Fine
the
one?
Double Fine game, not Metal. I think Metal Fatigue.
Let me see.
But I believe that they had to rename it in some regions. Like I think that Europe and the US had to rename it for some reason. Like there was some like, oh, you can't name this because of we
Iron-
have
Iron Brigade.
Iron Brigade. Yes, the thing.
Google to the rescue. Let me get a look at it,
Yeah.
because the name sounds very familiar.
I wasn't too far off, I guess.
No, it was the same like general
Yeah.
region of element, if that's the correct word. No, on Steam it looks like an absolute piece of shit. It's got 199 reviews and only like slightly over half of them are in any way positive.
Yeah.
And there's
Say
like,
it first came out on the Xbox Live Arcade, I think it was. But and people said, "Oh, this is good, and we're going to make a PC version as well because why not make PC
yeah,
version?"
and then they badly ported it. Yeah,
A badly ported version? Oh no!
bite your tongue, sir.
I already tried doing that. I can't afford any more mouth injuries at the moment.
Fair enough, mate. Fair enough. Well, tell me this then. With regards to, obviously it's the time of the year for it, but the sales and things that are rocking at the moment. Have you treated yourself to anything that you really don't need and will probably never play?
I have been staring at the list, and I've been watching friends buy things like heaven forbid the Goat Simulator. someone bought Spore as well. It's like, I thought you people had more better sense than
You
that.
see, I've been thinking about buying Sport because it's only like £3 ish, and I mean it's worth £3 ish.
£3 is maybe what I would say it's worth. Yeah.
Yeah, do you know, I think it was down to 3.74 in the UK, which really isn't that bad for Sport, but I mean anything more than that, and no, it just wouldn't happen. I've found that I don't know what it is. I think maybe the novelty of it all's worn off, but since the very, very first like Steam sale or whatever that I was able to participate in after I built my computer for the first time, I've just thought they've all been very underwhelming since then.
Well, they happen every 2 weeks now, so
Yeah, well, I
it's no
suppose so.
longer the social event of the decade. It's like, oh yeah, it must be Thursday again.
Yeah, it's there's the Steam Autumn sale, the Steam Halloween sale, the Steam Winter sale, and the Steam Christmas sale, and then the Steam New Year sale.
A couple of weeks ago, we had something called the Steam Exploration Sale.
Yeah,
I was like,
I
well,
saw that. What the hell?
I think that was to commemorate the probe landing on the asteroid. I think. I was like, okay, is this the Christmas sale and it's early? Do I wait? Do I get anything? Then it
Yeah,
ended. I'm like, well, nothing really came up. Then 2 weeks later, oh, another sale. But
yeah,
I've been adding things to my wish lists in order to keep track of them.
yeah.
And I've been pruning out some of the really stuff that I don't really actually want.
I think
But I'm sitting there watching, it's like, well, this is 10% off, 10% off. That's 25% off. It's like, well, that's not so bad. But normally I would have gone for things if I had any inclination to have them. But for some reason, I'm more falling towards that notion that anything less than 80% you should ignore and wait. It's like,
yeah.
you know what? I think I might do that.
Yeah, I mean, I can't remember the last time I paid full price for a PC game, like honestly, and I think that was the one quote that I really said a lot last year as well. I mean, I know for example, I got Murdered Soul Suspect a few days back for a fiver, which is really nothing for a game like that. It's not groundbreaking, but it's good. Like, got that for a fiver. Shadow Warrior, the new one, was 90% off on Steam the other day. There, bought that.
There is no reason not to have that game.
Exactly.
I think I got that at maybe 25% off fairly soon after it came out. I was like, this is worth the price. And then, as you say, when it was on 90% off, I'm like, why aren't more people in my friends list having bought this by now?
Yeah, well, as we speak, I just remembered that I purchased it and it's currently installing. As we speak, because that game's a lot of fun. Like, I've played it at a couple of conventions and things like that, and it's a lot of fun just smashing things. Basically the main thing I've got, it was Shadow Warrior and Murder Soul Suspect. Those are like the two games I've bought in like the winter sale at the moment. Now there's something I've just caved and done literally just a few hours ago, and I'm not sure if it was the right decision or not, but Dragon Age Inquisition. I've been waiting for the price to drop on that, and Origin have just chopped a third off it. But I'm still thinking that even with the third off, it's still more expensive than it should be. Because at a digital PC title, $49.99 is not the correct price. But that's what EA deemed it to be. But it's down to £33, and I finally caved because, goddamn, it's Dragon Age.
Well, they have to keep these exclusive digital sales feeling more, exclusive because, they might run out of copies.
Yeah, of course. I mean, like, it's ridiculous. Like, the digital deluxe version, which literally just gives you a couple of in-game mounts and a couple of in-game weapons, plus a digital soundtrack. Bear in mind, anybody who's gotten, like, in-game items as part of a perk for buying a game knows that by level 4 they're going to be useless to you.
Oh, yes.
It's £60 sterling. £60 sterling, and that's for a digital copy of the goddamn game. It's insane. I actually found recently the disc version was selling for $37.99 and the digital was still $50. And I was like, I can't comprehend that. Comprehend that rather. It's just not correct.
I mean, it's been many occasions where I thought, well, this is 50 euros on Steam, or it's 35 from Amazon. and I have to wait 4 days for it to arrive in the mail.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm gonna get it from Amazon just to save a little bit.
Yeah, I know. I mean, the same story actually with the same game. My younger brother was actually just in Germany. He got it for like $40, like the disc version, which I mean is only around 32 quid. So yeah, that's how he did it because it's just too expensive digitally. Well,
But same way,
before the sale.
so my friend of mine who lives not quite next door, but around the corner, she wanted to get Inquisition for Christmas. She was hoping that her boyfriend would buy it for her, but she caved and couldn't just wait until they took a vacation back home and bought a box copy. Instead, no, they just caved and bought it from Origin and
Oh
playing it.
god.
And she's saying that, well, I like it, but I don't feel it was like kind of. I'm a little bit disappointed in a way.
Yeah, well, I mean,
It's like, well,
I played it a little bit. I played a little bit of my brother's before buying my own, and I can honestly say, whoever invented the camera system for that game is mentally retarded.
what for the PC version,
Yeah,
where you have to. It's key bindings to your camera, isn't it?
it's just an absolute pain in the ass. So I can solemnly say there it'll be one of the few PC games that I play with a controller, because the camera controls are just, for lack of a better word, absolutely bollocksed in it. So I'm just going to avoid that like the plague. Something I've actually done recently that I never really thought would happen is I've got into a very, 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 very much so into an online only first person shooter, Titanfall.
Ah, yes.
It dominates my life at the moment. I literally get up 30 minutes early for work so I can play Titanfall before I go to work. I mean, I think I've had the game about a fortnight and I've played 52 hours ish at the moment. It's just that there's something about the fact in that game that if you're playing as like a pilot, you're just a normal infantry person. If you're good enough player, you can destroy a Titan without having a Titan, and there's something really unique I like about that. Like I know I don't play much Call of Duty, but I know, for example, if someone gets that kill streak and they get like the helicopter, for example, you don't try and fight that, you run and hide. Whereas Titanfall keeps it fun, I guess. Is this you googling Titanfall? I heard key buttons.
No, I was trying to think because every now and then I'd pop into Origin to see, oh, what free game are they? What free game are they trying to shove on us now? I think.
Yeah,
I
well,
guess.
you can get there is a Titanfall demo there, 48 hours free. If you want to try it, we can play together.
I don't think I have the time. It's strange. I don't feel as though I'm into those games anymore. I'm getting older. I'm getting more. I want to say eclectic in my tastes, but that doesn't something along those lines. But it's like, well, I used to love those games. Now I don't know if I can stand them, and then it's like, well, I've never played that before, but maybe I'll give it a try. It's like, what have I become? But what did I say? People were saying that they were playing it to begin with, and everyone was playing it for the first 2 weeks, and then they were just done.
Well, I mean, yeah, I can definitely see that. Like the game lets you choose, like when you're but before you join the lobby, it lets you choose what server you want to play on. So, at the moment I play on the West European server, but I can choose, North European or American or whatever. And there's only 1,800 people in the Western European server playing it. Maybe 1,900 if you take into account all the game modes, and that's really not a lot of people. I mean, for a game made by the guys that made a Call of Duty game, 1,800 people in a continent really isn't a whole lot. It's a very, very, very small, but I quite like it. I actually, just before the podcast started, the equivalent of prestiged in it. And it, obviously takes away all the guns and things you've unlocked, so I'm back to square one, but I have a shiny medal beside my name, so it's worth it.
Yeah.
Totally worth it.
Gotta love the shinies.
Yeah, I mean, no, it's the worst decision I ever made, to be honest with you. Like, all those 52 hours I spent, unlocking all the guns and getting the attachments I wanted for those guns and getting the upgrades I wanted for my Titans, and now it's just gone. So yeah, that's fun.
Well, I assume people have since moved on to newer things like Call of Duty, perhaps,
Yeah.
because, well, I think Call of Duty Ghosts came out after Titanfall and was terrible, but apparently Advanced Warfare is back to being good.
Yes, so I've heard a lot of good things about Advanced Warfare. Actually, I mean, like a colossal amount. So I mean, I'm considering getting a play at it. I mean, I haven't really played. I played Call of Duty Black Ops, and I played Modern Warfare 2, and I played World at War. But those are the only Call of Duty games I've ever put my hand to. But I'm actually considering checking out the new one.
I think the only one I never finished was, but I think it was Black Ops 2. Because they did something where they had some strange real-time strategy moment, and you had to manage an invasion with soldiers coming at you, and then some mechs, and it's like I couldn't get past that. The controls and the setup was so obviously for a console that my head couldn't get around it on PC, and I gave up and still never went back.
Oh, so that was Black Ops 2 then, not Black Ops 1?
That was Black Ops 2.
Okay,
Yeah.
then it was Black Ops 2 I played, not 1.
Yeah.
Because I remember doing that and I loved it. I was like, oh my god, RTS elements!
So Ghosts is the only one, well, Ghosts and Advanced Warfare are the only two I've not played, and I've not been really drawn to them, because I'm in it for the single-player games, which sounds strange because everyone's saying it's a multiplayer game and you get a single-player game on the side while you're waiting. I was like, okay, well, whatever. But I don't know if I want to get into Advanced Warfare. Even people say that the single player campaign is, I believe it's fairly short but predictable, but still good, and has Kevin Spacey. So everything's good there. But I'm just worried because I'm very cautious of today. This year's been the year of failed promises and broken dreams, because we had things like Watch Dogs, for example, was supposed to be touted as like, oh, it's going to be the most amazing thing ever. It's the next gen, and then it was Assassin's Creed in cars. Then we got we've had 2 or 3 Assassin's Creed games, and it's like, well, Unity came out, and it was, well, Assassin's Creed in France and broken models, controversy over no female. But I was just thinking all these games where people were saying, oh, this was going to be the next thing and everything's going to be great, and then it just didn't. And, failed promises, disappointments, never lived up to the hype. Never believe the hype. The hype will never be lived up to anymore.
Yeah, well, I mean, I looked at pre-ordering the special edition of Watch Dogs so many different times. Like, I went and looked at it and just decided, no, I'm not going in. I'm pretty glad that I did now. But I'm still actually yet to play Watch Dogs. Kind of still really want to play it, but no, definitely it's been, from what I've heard from everyone else, it's been very disappointing compared to what it was supposed to be.
If it comes onto the Steam sale, then it would be a perfect time, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, if they'll give it to me for £4, then I'll take it off their hands. The only thing I found though is that if you think about it, it's actually all been Ubisoft this year, doing that. So if like what happened with EA a few years back, they got voted the worst company in the world, then maybe it is Ubisoft's turn. Even though obviously they're nowhere near the worst company in the world, but. They've definitely let a lot of gamers down recently, and I know that some of the issues, especially with the Assassin's Creed games, is that it's usually Ubisoft Montreal works on them, yeah. Ubisoft Quebec has actually played a big part in the newer ones, so I've been told. And essentially the only real games that Ubisoft Quebec had on their roster before that was like a quit smoking game for the Nintendo DS.
Oh, yes.
So I definitely heard about that from, I think it was actually another podcast. But also the slightly worrying news is that the next Assassin's Creed is being made entirely by Ubisoft Quebec. Which just means it's probably, well, hopefully not, but it seems like it's going to be even worse than the issues that they had with the recent releases. I'm hoping, though, it means that Ubisoft Montreal are putting all their effort into Tom Clancy's The Division, because that looks fucking amazing.
Well, again, another case of hype. Will it live up?
I
And
know.
oh, perhaps it will. You never know. There's that golden carrot dangling in front of you to drag you on.
Yeah.
But if the Assassin's Creed though, they're trying to go Call of Duty and have it in a rather than one studio trying to get out a game every year, 2 years. They're
Mhm.
gonna and a rush job, and they never get a break. They're gonna do a staggered development. Like one studio does that one, then the other does the
Yeah.
next one, and they get a slightly longer development time, and they can polish things up. Well, in principle, polish things up,
Mhm.
and do as Call of Duty did with Treyarch and whatever thing it
Activision.
was. Um, then it just makes you think, well, all they're going to do is just milk the franchise into the ground.
Yeah, I mean, I think
And
that's definitely already happened. I mean, I think since Brotherhood, they've just consistently been getting worse.
well,
Um,
people said the pirating in 4 was like, oh, this is great. We get to be pirates. This is great. Make more pirate stuff. And then the pirates are gone.
yeah, but I mean, on the other side of that coin, should it really be an Assassin's Creed game? Should it just be called Ubisoft's Black Flag? Because what I was told, and again, I haven't completed it or played much of it at all, but from what I played of it, obviously, I liked the gameplay. The game was fun, but it wasn't an Assassin's Creed game. Because
No.
from what I've been told, is you're not actually an assassin. You just wear an assassin's clothes, but you are a pirate. So it's not really. I don't know how I feel about all that, to be honest.
Well, they were bringing in the idea of the poll afterwards for the community is saying, would you want a game with more pirate stuff in? And everyone went, yes! I said, well, do you think it should be its own game? They're thinking of maybe making a separate pirating game on the side. I think, okay, well,
Yeah,
sure enough, maybe, because why have one franchise when you can suddenly have two?
yeah, I suppose. Um, the something as well here to tell me. Then obviously it's been a year since the last one of these. What have you been spending a lot of your gaming time on since then?
Ooh, I'm going to perhaps surprise you by saying I can't really remember whether that's a good thing or not. I cannot really say, but I know I put a lot of my time into uh, Divinity: Original Sin.
Uh huh.
That I have found hugely enjoyable.
I have heard
Um,
beyond fantastic things about that game, but I'm yet to play it. Again, if it comes down enough in the sale, I'll buy it. But I've heard amazing things about it.
and then commercially, I've been watching Wasteland 2 because I want to get that as well. But I say, well, they're essentially both, top-down, turn-based strategic RPG. You know what? I'll finish Divinity first, and then look to maybe Wasteland 2. So other than Divinity, it's an interesting game because there's not respawning monsters. You can't grind. There is a set amount of things you can kill, a set amount of missions you can do, a set amount of things to find.
Fair enough.
So you're essentially, experience capped, and you have to try and find an optimal way past a difficult boss fight. You go, okay, well, I'm at a fight and he's kicking my ass. What do I do? And then you go off somewhere else. You find one little quest on the side you missed, and that gives you a few more experience, takes you to the next level. Then suddenly you can continue on past that part. And I found that a little bit frustrating, but it also, to be fair, encouraged a bit more exploration. You get to find more of the game to play. But I mean, I'm still in two minds about that. But I took a few months away from that, and then went back to it with a new, fresh, not so annoyed mentality about it, and managed to get back into it again. Other than that, I've been trying. I played the new Wolfenstein.
Yeah.
Well, I say new. It's now starting to almost be almost a year old now. I think it was.
Yeah. Back in the day.
So that was pleasantly surprised. It was another case of where, well, the hype is perhaps there, but will it deliver? And it turns out they did. So well done to them there. And Borderlands the pre-sequel, which I am in two minds about. I kind of like it. I kind of see what they were trying to do with it, and it's interesting. And I don't know if it's the game itself hasn't grabbed me, or if it's just because it is the same mechanics, the same shooty bang bang. Go here, collect that, come back, hand it in, go there, collect that, come back, blow that up.
Collect the oxygen.
Yeah, it's not a bad game, of course, and I will still tap into it every now and then. But otherwise, it's a case of me being lost on what to play. I look through my Steam list. It's like, well, I don't fancy playing that. I don't fancy playing that. You play the new things, of course, such as Shadow of Mordor. That was fantastic fun.
Mm-hmm.
And I have done things like reinstalled Dragon Age Origin, but I've not played it.
Okay.
I have everything lined up. It's installed, but as for something grabbing my attention, thinking, you know what? Yeah, sure. There's not really been anything.
Okay.
And I'm worried. I mean, I have been predominantly PC. So there's been things like Diablo 3, Reaper of Souls came out, played through that, enjoyed that thoroughly. There's new World of Warcraft, Walls of Draenor, playing that. I'm loving the garrisons and the missions and the collectibles. That's taking a lot of my time now. I did try out some Destiny.
Okay. Thoughts?
I've not got past the... I've got past the opening missions and into the ones where things start to open up and it says, look, there's a bigger game world happening here, but we're not going to tell you about it or show you anything about it, and just keep running these again. I was playing with someone else, and he joined in my game to boost me up eventually. Watch my back and show me how to do things. He was way up in the level 30 somethings, and I don't think I even got past level 8. And you hear a lot of people say there was the hype, it was going to be the next best thing, and then it didn't live up to it. And like I said, this year has been the year of failed promises and broken dreams.
Yeah. God damn it! Like there's been a lot I would say this year. Now, there's something I was thinking about it. Like it was only yesterday, and I'm actually heartbroken at myself that I can't remember what it was. There was a game that I played the absolute life out of this year and loved it, but it wasn't released this year, and I can't remember what it was. It's like it's been driving me crazy since I actually started the conversation, because I want to remember what it was, because I remember at the time when I was thinking about it with myself, it was quite important. I'm completely drawing a blank on it. A couple of games really that I've been playing. I mentioned Titanfall before.
Yes.
But I've only had that game for like a month, so I wouldn't really consider that as what I've spent the whole gaming year doing. I've also been playing it the same as yourself, a lot of Shadow of Mordor. I'm yet to finish it. I'm trying to make it last as long as possible. I'm killing a lot of captains over and over, and trying to do a lot of the side missions and things like that. I've put 37 hours into it at the moment, so that's really on that front. I've actually got a sealed copy of Destiny sitting beside me, and I actually put it on eBay yesterday, and it's gone already. So I just need to post it. So I'm not going to be becoming a Destiny player, unfortunately, or potentially for me, fortunately. In addition to that, I played Bound by Flame, which is like a dark fantasy RPG with like absolutely horrendous voice acting in it, as almost all of them are. But I actually beat that game right up until the final boss, that somehow just happened out of nowhere. You were playing along the story, you got nowhere near any, like you felt like you made almost nowhere near any progress at all in the story and the quest line the game is building up for you, and then all of a sudden you had the final boss and the game finished. Which is my main complaint on it. But again, I got my money's worth from it. Well, did I? It's about a 12-hour playthrough basically, which really for an open world RPG is not all that long. But it was good. It was good. I'm going to rack my brain though, trying to find what that game was that I played from last year.
Yeah.
I'm gonna drive myself crazy playing it. I know I played a little bit of Warhammer 40k Space Hulk. That's like based on the board game, so everything you do in the game, like your chances to hit the enemies and survive enemy attacks and things like that, is all actually based on dice rolls. And so there's only a certain amount of spaces you can move every turn, and so on and so forth. That one was a lot of fun. But I've not beaten it. It takes a large difficulty jump, as with a lot of games of that nature after a few hours. So I haven't completely beaten that one yet. But my gaming year has been a lot quieter than I would have liked. But that's the extent of what I've played, I guess.
Yeah, I say it seems to have been a fairly disappointing year all round for people. It's because when it does get down to like, what are the best games of this year, and some people are starting to do their end of year award shows and things like that, and they're sitting going, well, we kind of had to think hard to come up with enough games that came out rather than just ones we can put on an awards list.
Yeah.
But when they think, well, some are also doing their 5 worst games of the year, and it's like, oh yeah, we're spoiled for choice.
Yeah, well, no, I suppose that's very true as well. I mean, basically the games I just listed off those are my game of the year list, because they're the only things I've really properly played and properly got my teeth sunk into this year. There hasn't been anything else, and there's not really been anything I've played that I would deem as a large failure as well. So it's definitely been a very mixed bag on the gaming front. I'm still trying to find what that goddamn game was. I'm scrolling up and down through my Steam library to try and find it. And I'm completely drawing a blank. Completely and utterly drawing a blank on it.
Well, talking of games of the year, should we want to do a little top 5 each and see if anything... can we compare scores afterwards and see if there is a game that has generally caught us both?
Okay, well, we can do that if you go first.
Okay, well, in no particular order, because that would be crass and very gauche and cliche.
Okay.
Out of 5 that I would say I have very much enjoyed this year and thought that were very good, either surprising me by being better than I thought they would, or by perhaps taking some kind of chance, standing out, or just being generally a good title.
Are we classifying this then as games we played this year or games released this year then?
I wouldn't rate anything I haven't played in myself. That is just me, however.
But I mean, would there be anything on your list that's from 2013, for example, or are we doing this year only? Just so I know as well, for my own sake.
I may inadvertently add in something from last year, perhaps, especially in the later half of last year, shall we say? If I as an example, I'll start off. I'm going to say Grand Theft Auto 5, for which I have on PlayStation 3. And at the start, the online version was a bit shaky, of course. But I believe they made that up to people by giving them some, in-game currency and bonuses and things like that.
Yeah.
And they're constantly adding in new content, but that's good. It sounds strange to say, a Grand Theft Auto game is good, but it was, and I enjoyed it a lot. I found it it was a game that when I would get home and it's like, well, what am I going to do today? I am going to play Grand Theft Auto 5. I would sit down and I would play that. And I hadn't done that since Fallout 3 when that came out. What I did is I would constantly play that. So Grand Theft Auto 5 caught me on that one, and I'm probably going to get the PC release as well, especially if it goes on sale.
Of course.
Another one would be Shadows of Mordor, because another one, I was cautious of it, and it's, it is Batman with swords, but it's good, and I very much enjoy that game, for very many reasons. It's very enjoyable, the story's interesting. I'm not sure where it fits in with the entire story arc, but you didn't have to understand it to play it and enjoy it, and you would get little bits as well, and you go, oh, cool, that's cool.
Yeah, well, apparently it's set just before the Fellowship of the Ring movie takes place.
Ah,
So
okay.
it is just before that, but obviously in the stories aren't linked.
Mm.
But yeah, apparently that's when it was.
Um, Third game would be Divinity: Original Sin.
Mhm.
Just because it's colorful, it's interesting, it's different. There's a lot of humor in it. Also hidden humor and things like that. But it is also challenging to the point of driving me nuts.
Fair enough.
Uh, and now I'm starting to run out of games. Wolfenstein, the new one, that was cautious about, but it ended up fulfilling.
Mhm.
And then yeah, surprisingly, and I enjoyed it immensely. It was pretty good. There were a few parts where I was annoyed by an encounter that I couldn't get past, but I pushed through, got through, and that was the only quibble I had.
The only game really I see that would overlap both of our lists then would be the Shadow of Mordor. I mean, even if every review in the world absolutely slandered that game, I was getting it anyway because it's Tolkien's Middle Earth universe, and I'm a big fan. I mean, I've got the inscription from the One Ring tattooed on my left arm, so I was having that regardless of whether it was atrocious or immense. Um, and I do absolutely love it the bit, so it would definitely be one of the ones that I'd be including for myself as well, because the game is fantastic. I like the fact that there's a lot of lore hidden in it. Like you can pick up collectibles and it gives you lore and it gives you backstory to the universe that's not really covered in any of the movies and things like that. It'll be something that you would have to have read the unmovified books to know about, which I quite like the inclusion of.
What was I got? I got up to yes.
I think you got four. I think
I got three down. I
three.
think was it
Um,
GTA, Shadow of
GTA. Mm,
Mordor, Divinity, oh Wolfenstein.
yeah.
Um. All right. Now I'm gonna choose. I'm gonna say. I guess is a fifth one. I would say Diablo 2: Reaper of Souls, the expansion. Whether an expansion counts as a game release, I assume it does.
I think so. I mean,
Um,
it had a physical copy. So
oh yeah, sitting on my shelf there.
nice.
Even though the before the expansion itself, the pre-patch, otherwise known as Loot 2.0, which completely changed how items worked, how they were generated, what their properties were.
Uh-huh.
That alone turned the game into a whole new game.
Hmm.
And then they brought in the expansion itself, which, while I was a little bit disappointed that it was only one more chapter. So the original game was chapters 1, 2, 3, 4. This was just a chapter 5.
Okay,
I think,
I was
well,
expecting it to be bigger as well. Yeah.
I mean, the chapter itself was, fairly substantial. And whether I want to say it was worth a full price next game, I'm in mixed feelings about. If they add on more free content to it, uh, then
Yeah.
excellent. Then I feel as if we get money's worth, as it were.
Hmm.
But whether that's going to happen, I don't know. I mean, I was watching the BlizzCon, waiting to see if they were going to make any kind of hints about any, maybe not a Diablo 4, but another expansion for Diablo 3.
Uh-huh.
And I think on the panel they mentioned that they didn't have any plans for another expansion. They were trying to think about where to go with it next and working on other ideas. Um, a shame because some of the people I know we were talking about, oh, it should have an expansion and it's all about Covetous Shen, the gen dealer, because he's amazing. And thankfully, in the Reaper of Souls expansion, they didn't. They kind of gave each of the three followers their own little mini side story that you could accompany them on, that would expand on their story. Like the scoundrel, you'd chase after clues about the gang that killed his brother, and he was chasing them and trying to find out who did that, and you would discover more clues, and it kind of reached a conclusion, but on a cliffhanger.
Uh-huh.
And then on your sorceress mission, you would follow her as well, and you would follow through her storyline, and that also reached a conclusion. Not so much of a cliffhanger, but showing that, hey, this is the start of perhaps something that could be more. And then for cover to Shen, the gem dealer. He's not a follower, but he still had a quest line of his own.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that immensely because he's a great character and voiced by a fantastic actor and voice artist. I enjoyed that mode. The little extra touches, the follow missions, the extra things, and so while it doesn't have like a huge chapter end, it has these little extra things on the side, and I was hoping for more of that. But I don't know. From what they were saying at the panel, it sounded like they might have gone thinking, okay, now we're going to do Diablo 4 next, but we're going to leave it a few years.
Yeah, and we're not going to tell you anything about it yet.
Yeah, but as not empty as it was, but it is not a fuller game release as I would have liked. I still would put it up into the top 5 that I've enjoyed for this year for the release.
Definitely, no problem. Well, I'd say, I mean, I touched on it briefly there, but definitely with Shadow of Mordor would be it's right up there in both of our lists. I would say, and we're not really putting them in any kind of set order and things like that, but definitely a strong contender. Probably my favourite of the year. I would say a lot of that is probably fueled by, again, my blind love for everything that is Tolkien's, but even so, I quite liked it. I mean, I know you mentioned there earlier it was Batman with swords. I found that the combat in this was a lot smoother than Batman, or even Assassin's Creed did inspired the Batman series. There's something I quite liked about it, and the fact as well that, you know, specific Uruk captains that you'll fight will have specific strengths and specific weaknesses. Like, you know, some of them, there's a guy I fought who was actually invulnerable to ranged attacks and invulnerable to combat finishers. So literally, in order to kill him, I had to run around and knock him into fires repetitively, because that was his one weakness. He was terrified of being set on fire. It's very strange that it adds that unique twist, and it makes you think a bit more, as opposed to, I mean, I love the older Lord of the Rings games as well, but at the end of the day, they were hack and slash, and it adds an extra level of thought, you know, an extra level of thought onto the top of it. And I was a big fan of the Nemesis system as well in there.
You could spend just weeks and weeks playing that. You could clear the board, and then more people have come in to take their places, and
exactly. And did you find that the first time I found this, my jaw absolutely dropped? Did you find the captain that you killed come back?
I can't remember, because people had mentioned that was possible, and I was like thinking, and I think there's some achievements hidden away saying, if you know, you can kill some guy who came back to it, and it's like, well, I can't remember if I ever saw that.
It's so cool. There was a guy I killed, and I was just at one point, you know, fighting a group of Uruks or whatever, and all of a sudden you get that that dialogue of "filthy maggot," and it's like a captain calling you out, and it was this guy. It was the same guy I already killed, and his quote was something like, you know, "You think you could get rid of me that easily?" And he had like a metal plate covering half of his face, from where obviously, you know, he was mortally wounded from our fight before. And I thought that was ridiculously cool. That was something I really, really enjoyed. And it's definitely something you haven't really seen in a game before, that, you know, an enemy you thought you had murdered, they came back again. Now I have found as well, just see if it's an enemy that you just kill by, say, you fight them and then they run out of health and they're dead, or you throw them off a cliff and they're dead, things like that. Those are the ones that can come back. If they're the ones that you finish with a combat finisher and you chop their head off, they're not coming back to bother you. But the rest of them might. It's not guaranteed they will, but they might. Like the guy I was mentioning there who came back, I actually encountered him several times again, and the final time I encountered him, his actual whole body was wrapped in bloody bandages and he couldn't speak anymore. He was just kind of like making noises like, and then when I killed him that time, he was gone. But I think I fought him like 4 times altogether and beat him every one of them, which is quite unique. And I like the fact as well that some enemy captains will choose to leave you alive at the end of your fights with them, they'll go, nah, you're not worth killing, and they'll just walk away and leave you, and you're like, you motherfucker. So it seems like the enemies are intelligent and they're aware of what's going on, and they make decisions based on it. So I quite like that, and obviously it's enough about Shadow of Mordor, but I mean, I'm not really going to go into this one again, but obviously Titanfall's on my list. It's a genre of game that I never really liked before, and actually actively spoke out against it when it was released initially, because as soon as I found out it was multiplayer only, I completely lost any interest in it until it was just £7 on Origin and I bought it, and it's ridiculous levels of fun, like absolutely ridiculous levels of fun. Bound by Flame again, which I mentioned, not the longest game in the world, but I quite liked the combat system, and I liked how it flows. It's very, very similar to Shadow of Mordor, where you have like your main heavy weapon as your warrior, whether it be a sword or a hammer or whatever, and you've got a skill tree for that. You also have your daggers, which are your stealth weapons, and you have a skill tree for that. And you have a ranged weapon, which is either a bow or throwing knives, and again, there's a skill tree for that. And you can swap between all three of them in a fight as a combo. And I quite like that. So a lot of RPGs, like, you pick a class and that's what you play as, end of story. And I quite like that. My voice is just gone. Like, I quite like that there is a few recently that allow you to play as every class and swap between them. Bound by Flame, actually, I should mention, you basically play as a character who at the very beginning of the game gets somewhat possessed as a demon. And depending on the choices you make as the game goes on, the demon may actually get more power over you.
Oh dear.
And from the point where you get possessed as the demon, you actually, in addition to your warrior, rogue, and ranged, you actually get magic as well. And the more power that the demon gets over you, the more magical abilities you unlock, and the more powerful they become. Which again, something you don't really see that often. And in addition to those three, those would be the main three, but these next two, they weren't released this year, but I only played them this year. Injustice Gods Among Us. I absolutely love that. It's essentially Mortal Kombat, but in the DC universe. Played through that, and then played an absolute ton of like the verses on it with the other half. And but we actually played a lot of the newer Mortal Kombat as well this year. Again, played through the whole story, and then played it against each other, so those were definitely big time sinks for us. But the main one that was the one that I've been spending the entire podcast trying to remember what it was, and it was The Last of Us. So it was I actually only played most of and finished The Last of Us in, I think it was July of this year. By Lord, I love that game. There's just something about it. It's got so much character that it's just, it was fantastic. And I can tell from your reaction there, you probably quite liked it yourself, did you?
I did. I've not finished it yet. Mm-hmm. I was playing it through last summer. I put it on hold at one point because I think something else took my interest and was like, well, this is getting a bit heavy at the moment. I need something a bit lighter. Mm-hmm. And then the winter came along. It was dark and cold. Like, I don't want to play that. It's not in my mood. And then I've had it on the side there, sitting on top of my US and UK PlayStation 2. It's stacked on top of there, along with Ni no Kuni, which the missus has been playing when she was here. Mm-hmm. A few other games, but yeah, Last of Us has been sitting there as a reminder. Yeah, finish this.
Yeah, I mean,
I've not actually finished it yet, but it is very, very good.
Yeah, I mean, of course I can definitely say
the remastered version.
Of course, I mean the remastered version. I'm not sure how I feel about it, because again, the remastered version came out about a month and a half after I actually finished the goddamn thing. But there's, I would easily say the best and worst gaming decisions I made this year were both Sony. Essentially, the best gaming decision I made all year was going back and finishing The Last of Us. More than worth it. Even the multiplayer in that game's a lot of fun, actually. I quite like the multiplayer on that. Oh my lord, I've become a 90-year-old woman.
That was me this afternoon.
Oh,
it was,
what are you, voice? What are you? And the worst gaming decision I made this year, again, very, very similar to Shadow of Mordor, was bought out of pure fandom. and it was a bad decision. I bought Sword Art Online Hollow Fragment rather, for the PlayStation Vita, which is based off a very popular anime series, Sword Art Online, and it's just the game's not made well, essentially. I mean, it works. It's not full of bugs and things like that, but whoever designed it and whoever thought it would actually be fun for people to play was wrong. The only thing that keeps me going back and actually playing it is just my love for the series and wanting to have experience the story cutscenes with those characters. You know, you're just laughing at my voice, aren't you? You're a motherfucker.
No, I was just thinking how there's some kind of parallel back with when it comes to mind the how many shows might do a little cash in. It's like, oh well, we'll just use a template game designed thing and pop our own characters into it. Bang, game.
Yeah, well, I mean, it is very much so that way. I mean, what I like about Sword Art Online, I'm not sure if you're familiar with it or not. Mm-hmm. Are you?
I have watched the first few episodes of the show. I have them all here to watch, and I've just not got to it yet.
Okay, so at least you have an idea what I'm talking about. Basically, the way the game works is obviously you're in the world there, and you're obviously you're a level 100 character, and actually at the start you play as the main character from the anime, and you basically run around and kill enemies. But it's very much so like a hack and slash sort of thing. You do have special abilities. The game never explains to you what they do or how to use them properly, but you have them. And if you don't use them in fights, you die. But the game never actually tells you what they are or how to use them. Typical of a Japanese game, I'm guessing. I swear to God, I do not smoke 40 cigarettes a day, and I haven't been doing that for 40 years. But basically, yeah, that's what Sword Art Online the game is. But the enemies are ridiculously overpowered. Every area looks the same, and after the first 30 minutes of playing, it just gets boring because every fight's the exact same as the one before it, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking before about saying the cookie cutter templates.
Yeah.
Years ago, before this might be like 10, 12, maybe more years ago now, there was the hack sign show, which was designed also to go alongside with a game series that they developed along with it.
Uh-huh.
So that was designed with the games in mind, and that was a game of a series of 4 games on the PlayStation 2, and I would say I was worried that these are going to be just a case of just a cash in, but no. What the hell is that?
Sorry.
but yeah, apparently those games turned out well and were successful, and they spawned on more shows and more games, and then after that, more titles and properties started to have the cash in because, say, the games industry was growing. It was popular with the demographic that was consuming the shows, and then I say they have basically templates that they. Not being too cynical, but they have templates. They drag drop their stuff in and say, right,
they reskin it.
Yeah, they say, yep, there we go. Now you have your game, and then they ship it out the door. We go,
I mean, I can definitely see that. I mean, I'm a big Naruto fan, and I own every Naruto game apart from the absolute newest one. Well, everyone released in the UK apart from the very newest one, which at this point, on home consoles only, so excluding handhelds, on home consoles only is about 14 games. And they're all the exact same as the one before it. I mean, I think each new game as it comes out adds on about, maybe half of a story arc or one story arc from the anime, but you still have to play through everything that you played through in the previous 12 titles before you get to that point. I mean, they are all exactly the same as one another. The unfortunate thing I found with it is it actually backtracked at one point. The best Naruto game I actually ever played was on the PlayStation 2. And I think it was like the 5th one or so they released on the PlayStation 2, so 7 Naruto games ago. And ever since that one, they've actually started like removing features for some reason, but that one was immense. But definitely what you're saying, I can see a lot of similarities with it. I mean, I think we've all played Dynasty Warriors at one point in time in our lives. They released the Bleach game, which is just a reskin of Dynasty Warriors. And that was on the PlayStation 3, but it is just a reskin Dynasty Warriors, sadly.
Well, in a way, so was the Zelda game, Hyrule Warriors, but apparently that's awesome. So
Yeah, well, again, I was interested in the sound of Hyrule Warriors, and then I saw gameplay and was like, well, I love Dynasty Warriors, it just looks the same, but nah, screw it, I'm still not going to buy a Wii U, and that was essentially how that thought process went for me.
it's an interesting thing because I was listening to Jim Sterling. I'm a great fan of Jim Sterling, and he was saying how he is a big Dynasty Warriors fan and he loves them, and he's having a blast with it, and how it's been interesting that other people, when they were mentioning that, he was mentioning that, they were saying, oh yeah, well, they were thinking about what they've been playing on in terms of consoles. And he said, well, everyone rushed to get the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4, but oddly enough, they've been spending most of their time now playing on the Wii U, and it is now their favorite console and has their favorite games, and more things are coming for it. And it's so interesting how that turned around, because when the Wii first came out, sold like hotcakes, and then the Wii U came along, it sold, but there wasn't much happening to carry it. People were thinking, oh no, Nintendo's doomed, they've made a failure, and now it's just swung back around again.
Yeah, well, I mean, I heard, like, I think it was only this morning, actually, I heard this quote that, like, the Nintendo Wii is, like, one of the most selling consoles ever, but it's also the one console that sits in your house and gathers dust into one place, but everyone owns one. And I think the Wii U was, like, the polar opposite of that almost no one owns them, but the people who do own them use them a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it's... I don't know if it makes me wonder what they're going to do for another console, or if they're just going to stick with handhelds.
I don't know.
Because when they make handheld, it's generally a winner.
Yeah.
We'll leave the 3D elements of the 3DS out, but the console itself sold. Then they made the flat 2DS, which is
shit.
It was just it was wedge shaped. It was flat. You couldn't fold it, but
it's a handheld console that's not portable because it's too big.
Yeah. And it's not even two screens, it's one screen with a little plastic divider in it as well. It's like, oh.
That's ridiculous. And then they've released the new 3DS as well. Like, what the fuck?
But it's had me looking at them going, well, I kind of want to play, what is it? Bravely
Default?
Yes, the one. And there's a couple other things that came out. They came out a sequel for that as well. It's like, I kind of want to play those, but that requires buying the 3D. Do I want one? And I was shopping for them, trying to find a good price. I'm like, no, Nintendo, you can't do that to me.
Well, I mean,
because my 2DS is sitting on the shelf from years ago with Mario Kart 8 still in it, or whatever it is, and we used to play that every night on the bus home from work. The entire office would be there with their DSs and have like huge multiplayer matches on the hour ride bus home, and that was great. But now it just sits there.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely say that on the handheld front, I think that Nintendo's a lot better than Sony at the moment. I know obviously it's open to interpretation. There's a lot of cool features with the PS Vita and things that lets you play your PlayStation 3 and your PlayStation 4 games from the Vita and that sort of thing, but I don't know. I mean, even though the Vita is lacking in titles, let's say it released, there was 100 games come out for the PlayStation Vita tomorrow. At the end of the day, there's still not going to be Monster Hunter. There's still not going to be Mario. There's still not going to be Pokemon. And I think the handheld market really is cornered by Nintendo, because I think the types of games they release on the handheld are the kind of games that you want to play on a handheld. Whereas with the Vita, it's essentially just a normal console game on a smaller platform.
Well, Nintendo were pretty cheeky because they bought out Smash Brothers on the DS first, and before the Wii U. And people are going to buy both.
Yeah, that's true. It's very true. I mean, they're all cheeky at the moment. They all want to make money and need to make money, and bunch of bastards, basically.
Well, there's the statistic that's been floating around where they say that Nintendo could lose $1 million every year and still continue turning a profit or staying in the black until like the year 2155 or something like that. It's like, well, maybe that's true, maybe it isn't, but I don't think they're gonna be wanting to push that anytime soon, and they do want to try. They are, of course, pulling out new Marios and the Zelda games and.
I mean, there's there's one thing that I don't understand their thought process behind it. I genuinely can't comprehend it. Maybe it is just to do that they want their console to be cheaper than everyone else's, but they seem to be intentionally a generation behind on graphics. And I mean, I know graphics it's not a make or break for everyone, but for a lot of people, they will just look at the Wii U and they'll look at the Xbox One and say, well, this has got better graphics, I'm taking that instead. And it would be as simple as that for some people. I mean, like the Wii U, I believe it actually does have HD, doesn't it? The Wii U does have a HD output, I believe.
I can't swing either way on that one. I'm not really sure.
Google is my friend.
But people have been, well, I say people, random people have been suggesting that, oh, well, maybe on the next Nintendo console, if they do one, they are going to aim to not maybe compete, but definitely up it on the front of the visuals available. Because
hopefully so.
Yeah, because the AAA titles, PC, Xbox, and PlayStation, occasionally there would be a Wii version that comes out, but generally the Wii has its own games. The Zelda Marios, the Disney Infinity, the Skylanders, the toy games. It's like, well, it's nice that they're making it their own, and while it does avoid very low quality ports of the titles over to them, it's like, well, they could be getting AAA titles on there as well.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that I've found as well, I don't know, I mean, obviously, say the Wii U, the Wii U and the Xbox One came out on the same day. I know they didn't, but hypothetically they did. The Wii U would obviously be a lot cheaper, and it seems to be because they do hold back a bit on the graphics, and even though they do have a disc drive, that disc drive can't actually play DVDs or Blu-rays, even though it's a Blu-ray drive for the actual game disc. So, I mean, I'm in two minds with myself whether or not it's a good idea on their part to hold back those features, but also reflect the fact that they've held them back in the price, or just include it and charge a bit more and see if more people will buy it. Because I mean, it didn't work for them with the Wii U. Do you know what I mean? That approach didn't work, despite the absolute ton of marketing they put into it. So maybe it is time to try the different way.
Well, I say they don't seem to be losing out on money, and they say, yeah, seem to be very happy with what they're doing. Things like games like Splatoon that's coming out, and so it's like they're not, their stables aren't empty, but when they do have a horse in a race, it tends to be a winner. But it also seems to just be running on a race on its own.
Yeah.
So it's like, does that really qualify? It's like, well, does it have to compete? Can it just be a good game on its own?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose if you do think about it that way, they're at what they do and the way they do it, they're the best at it. You know what I mean? I suppose I hadn't really thought about it like that before, but I guess so. It makes sense. I mean, I heard a quote yesterday that Nintendo do consider themselves a toy company, not a video game manufacturing company. So I think that's why maybe they don't need to have the cutting edge technology and everything they put out. They just need it to be fun, and it does be.
I could definitely see with that, but you never know where things are going to go next. Yeah,
no, it's very true. It's very true. Well, I think maybe we should wrap up a little, as the 20-minute podcast has turned into an hour 10 minutes.
Hooray!
We saw this coming. We can't lie. We genuinely can't lie.
I could talk for 24 hours. Well, at the moment, I don't think your voice could handle it, but
yeah. I mean, I could certainly listen for that amount of time if I didn't have a 2.5 hour drive ahead of me first thing tomorrow morning. Then I would gladly stick around and keep going.
Oh dear.
Lord, I'm dying. I've got Ebola, and that was the last anyone ever heard from me. That this podcast didn't even get uploaded because the Ebola got me.
God damn it!
God damn Ebola!
I know I should record it on my side as well. That'd be
we
good.
waited a year for this, you selfish virus bastard. Things like that. Anyway, anyone who's listened to this point, you have the patience of a saint, and we may endeavour to send you a trophy of some sort.
And as a reward, this week's winning lottery numbers is...
Oh, please tell me you know the numbers from Lost off by heart, and we could rhyme those
Uh,
off.
Sadly, no.
Damn it. Well, it's those people. Go Google it. That's what'll win the lottery this week.
If it does, I'd be very scared.
Yeah, it'll be there in the
I'm
wind,
sure. I'm sure there's someone who still plays that every week.
I'd say there's more than one person. Yeah, I mean, I'm constantly tempted to do it, but never have because I don't want to become cursed.
Mm.
You know, that's how things work. But anyway, yep. Thank you very much for listening, everyone. If you did, there's probably 3 people in the world listening to this point in time, and it's probably me and Bebsey listening to it back as well as my mother. So, thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye bye.